Today is May the 11th. Is divorce sin? Well, Paul addresses this. Let's read that passage, 1 Corinthians 7, from 8 to 16. To the unmarried and the widows I say that it's good for them to remain unmarried as I am. But if they are not practicing self-control, they should marry, for it's better to marry than to be aflame with passion. To the married I give this command, not I, but the Lord, that the wife should not separate from her husband. But if she does separate, let her remain unmarried, or else be reconciled to her husband. And that the husband should not divorce his wife. To the rest I say, I and not the Lord, that if any brother has a wife who's an unbeliever, and she consents to live with him, he should not divorce her. If any woman has a husband who's an unbeliever and he consents to live with her, she should not divorce the husband. For the unbelieving husband is made holy through his wife, and the unbelieving wife is made holy through the brother. Otherwise, your children would be unclean, but as it is, they're holy. But if the unbelieving partner separates, let it be so. In such a case, the brother or sister is not bound. It is to peace that God has called us. Wife, for all you know, you might save your husband, and husband, for all you know, you might save your wife. Now, Paul continues addressing the issue of marriage, love, and sex. Here, he is specifically looking at marriage. He gives what appears to be a personal opinion now. He actually says, now I say this, not the Lord. In other words, he's saying the Lord was silent on this topic. Here's my take. He says, first of all, if you're single, stay single. Focus on the Lord. Marry if it becomes an overwhelming burden. 2, if you're married to an unbeliever and the unbelieving spouse is willing to remain married, so be it, do so. 3, if you're married to an unbeliever and the unbelieving spouse leaves, let it be. Roman marriage, as such, didn't really require a ceremony. Sometimes they would do one, but it wasn't a requirement. It was simply a decision. 2 people began to live together. In the same way, Roman divorce didn't require a legal document, simply a decision. Now, the Old Testament gives a very quick presentation of what divorce was. Let's read about that in Deuteronomy 24, 1 through 4.
Deuteronomy 24, verses 1 through 4, New Revised Standard Edition. Suppose a man enters into marriage with a woman, but she does not please him because he finds something objectionable about her. So he writes her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house. She then leaves his house and goes off to become another man's wife. Then suppose the second man dislikes her, writes her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house. Or the second man who married her dies. Her first husband, who sent her away, is not permitted to take her again to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that would be abhorrent to the Lord, and you shall not bring guilt on the land that the Lord your God is giving you as a possession.
The Pharisees approached Jesus and they asked Jesus a question about divorce. Jesus responded. Let's look at his response. Matthew 19, 3 to 9.
Matthew 19, verses 3 through 9, New Revised Standard Edition. Some Pharisees came to him and tested him. They asked, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any cause?" He answered, "Have you not read that the one who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, 'For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh.' Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. They said to him, Why then did Moses command us to give a certificate of dismissal and to divorce her? He said to them, It was because you were so hard-hearted that Moses allowed you to divorce your wives, but in the beginning it was not so. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another commits adultery, and he who marries a divorced woman commits adultery.
The intent of the Old Testament passage is to protect a woman from frivolous divorce. You had to have a certificate, and you can't just decide today I don't want to be married to you and tomorrow I do. The frivolousness of that decision is thrown out. Jesus actually says divorce was a concession. It wasn't a commandment. And it was due to the hard-heartedness of man. Divorce in and of itself, then, is not really a sin, but frequently divorce is the result of sin. God's intent is that a man and a woman become one. So when they separate and remarry, they break that pattern of oneness and become adulterers. So, is divorce sin? Can you divorce? Well, it's not ideal. It's not God's perfect plan, but the fact is, we live in a fallen world. Don't suffer abuse. Leave. You don't have to suffer adultery. Again, that oneness has been broken. You can leave. Can you remarry after divorce? Well, if you find someone that you can become one with, yeah. But don't just remarry for the sake of remarriage. So what do we do about this today? It's a great day if you're married to love and honor your spouse. And if you're not, to pray that the Lord either brings you the right spouse or prepares you to live a life of celibacy. Scripture reading from the New Revised Standard Version by Emily Herrera. If you like what you heard today, follow us.